City School District Board of Education, the regular board meeting. Today is Thursday, September 21st. The Norwood City School District Board of Education follows a bi-monthly meeting schedule. The first meeting of the month is called our committee meeting. At this meeting, we discuss fully our agenda for the board meeting to be held the third Thursday of each month. As board members, we encourage you to attend, watch, and listen to our committee discussion resulting in action at the board meetings. For full disclosure, our committee meetings and board meetings are always announced, video and audio taped, as well as posted to our webpage for your view. All of our meetings are public and visitors are welcome. Mrs. Camphouse, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Atwood.
Present.
Ms. Ballard.
Present.
Mrs. Rarica.
Present.
Mr. Taylor.
Present.
Mrs. Cole.
Present. Moving on to 1.03, we need to appoint a treasurer pro tem for tonight's meeting. As you can see, Treasurer Mrs. Camphouse cannot be with us in person this evening, so we do need to make a nomination for that role. So I would like to nominate Mr. Brandon Atwood as the treasurer pro tem for the meeting tonight.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, so Mr. Atwood will be our treasurer tonight. If you would please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice.
All right, item 1.05, this is the adoption of our agenda. I do need to make an amendment to the agenda. We do not have a vote box after 9.01 on the agenda. So I would like to move to adopt the agenda with amending with a vote box at 9.01.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor? Yes. Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Moving on, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get into our meeting tonight. 1.06, these are the minutes from our regular meeting, August the 15th. 1.07, this is the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting that was held on September the 12th. And item 1.08, this is the minutes from the committee meeting, September 12th. Do I have a motion to adopt these minutes?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor? Yes. Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Okay, we are moving on in our agenda. Item 2, this is our presentation section. And 2.01, we are so honored to have Mr. John and Mr. Tom Shepard with us this evening. So I will turn this over to Superintendent Mrs. Roden.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we are delighted to have both Mr. Tom Shepard and Mr. John Shepard with us. They have supported Norwood Ready Kids for almost a decade. And if you don't know what Norwood Ready Kids is, it supports children really ages 0 to age 3 to make sure that they're ready to start school with all the skills they need. So this summer, Mayor Schneider declared June 3rd as Norwood Ready Kids Day in the city of Norwood. Many of us in the room attended the event, and we have a short video clip of the festivities that we would like to show you at this time.
Hello and welcome to our Touch a Truck event end of year for Norwood Ready Kids. And Norwood Ready Kids is a collaborative so that funding exists for 45212, specifically for 0 to 5-year-olds, so that they get early education services and arrive ready for kindergarten.
And at the end of the year, we have some kind of party, and every year we try to change it up. And this year, we're at the firehouse.
We had an open house for the community to come in and see the equipment, see the firehouse, meet the firefighters.
There are tons of kids running all over, climbing on fire trucks.
What do you think, dude? Yeah, that's not impressive. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna hurt everybody's ears.
Usually that's the first thing the kids try to do is they get up and honk the horn. So we have the fire trucks turned off so that they can't do that. We also have a prop for them to spray a fire hose at a house. And then usually a fire helmet is usually what the kids enjoy the most.
I honestly think this is probably our best party.
I'm Victor Schneider. I'm mayor of the city of Norwood. We're glad you are here. This is a proclamation. Whereas Norwood Ready Kids serves all families in 45212 with programs that provide early education for children ages prenatal to 5 years old.
So today I have our main funder who began this project, and his name is Tom Shepard with the Shepard Chemical Company. And I just want to ask you, what made you decide to invest in early childhood education?
Norwood Ready Kids came out of a conversation that occurred 8 to 9 years ago between the director of Greater Cincinnati United Way at the time, Rob Reifschneider, and my dad, John Shepard.
Norwood Ready Kids began in 2016 with an initial and ongoing investment by the Shepard Chemical Company, Kydell Plumbing Supply, and School Outfitters.
It occurred to them that some collection of United Way agencies and Norwood City schools could come together in a very productive way to help our kids and our neighbors' kids be ready for kindergarten, because as you know, that makes such a difference in one's life.
It's really exciting that that happens right here in Norwood.
Norwood Ready Kids consists of a series of programs that starts with small babies up through preschool. We start with early childhood, which is our ECS program.
Whereas Every Child Succeeds, a nationally recognized home visiting program, also known as ECS, is provided in Norwood in connection with Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center and Best Point Education and Behavioral Health.
Somebody will come into the home with moms with newborns, even prenatals, and talk with them about things such as making sure you're healthy when the baby's still in the tummy, when the baby's born. We'll come in once a week and we'll talk about tummy time and all those things until we hand you off to the next group.
Co-Stars by Best Point Education and Behavioral Health provides high-quality learning and development programs for 3, 4, and 5-year-old children. They deploy the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn, which meets bi-weekly at the Norwood Public Library. Spark.
And the next group might be Spark.
This is an in-home preschool program for ages 3 and 4 years old.
We're working on reading and writing and those things that get you up to preschool.
Norwood City School District provides ongoing support and connection for the Norwood Ready Kids Collaborative.
We assure that you get into preschool. We hold your hand and make sure you get into preschool.
Where teachers and administrators welcome families into our neighborhood schools. Thank you, Norwood City Schools. 4C for Children provides parent support groups called Norwood Strong Families, where they can meet and connect with other caring adults. 4C for Children also helps families find quality childcare or to become a star-rated home childcare provider.
We have a program called Great Start.
Great Start provides a roadmap of educational steps to develop short, and long-term grade level reading.
And you learn how to navigate the school system.
Developed originally in Norwood and now recognized as a best practice in all of Ohio.
A lot of people in Norwood know me as the program director for Baby Bear.
Monthly community shop for parents with young children in their life.
That's a place where you can go and get free diapers and stuff like that.
Adults and children receive a personal shopper to help pick out clothing, diapers, toys, and equipment for children.
Norwood Ready Kids is at every Baby Bear event, and we introduce you to Norwood Ready Kids when you come to Baby Bear.
Baby Bear is part of the Woven Oak initiatives in Norwood.
What have you enjoyed about the journey?
What I've most enjoyed about the journey is how the city of Norwood has come together to make such a difference for our community, for our families, for our kids. At Shepherd, we look hard for high leverage initiatives, investments we can make that for which the payoff is especially large. And dealing with children, helping children get ready for kindergarten is just a very high leverage investment, very efficient way to help people become their best selves and live their best lives.
When we first started Norwood Ready Kids, we had 4 preschool classrooms. Now we have 12 starting this fall, including traditional, Montessori, and Head Start. Our enrollment happens much faster, and we have need for more classrooms. So thank you so much. It's really amazing.
Now therefore, I, Victor Schneider, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Norwood, do hereby declare June 3rd, 2023 as Norwood Ready Kids Day in the city of Norwood. Thank you.
Boy, what a great way to bring neighbors together, bring our community together. So it's a pleasure to be involved.
You can find all of this information at the Norwood Ready Kids Facebook page or the Baby Bear Facebook page. We would love for anybody in 45212 to join us, to get involved. As long as you live in 45212, all of this is free for you. We'd love for you to come be a part of it.
The Norwood Board of Education, which wishes to thank Shepherd Chemical, and in particular, Mr. John Shepherd and Mr. Tom Shepherd, for your personal leadership in developing successful school and business partnerships, in particular around early learning.
Thousands of articles have been written and countless hours of training have been devoted to strategies to improve student outcomes. You understand, starting almost a decade ago, the value of early childhood education and the lack of funding during these crucial years.
We understand that as school officials, we have a primary responsibility to meeting this need for the job, but we simply can't do it alone to get the results that we need for our community or the ones that they deserve.
Thank you for being out in our community, advocating for the importance of early learning and helping fund these experiences for our youngest children. It is greatly appreciated and has led to many more of our children getting a firm foundation before they start kindergarten. Thank you for your foresight that has had a lasting impact on our Norwood family.
At this time, as a token of our appreciation, we would like to present to you the proclamation in honor of your decade of long support of the Norwood City Schools. Thank you on behalf of all the families in our district. At this time, I'd like to invite you both up to receive the plaque and get a round of pictures.
I'd like to invite the board for a picture. I'd like to
right there. He's gonna come back. This is a real honor, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Moving on to item 3, this is personnel, superintendent recommendations, and I will turn the floor over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you, Madam President. 3.01 are resignations, and we do have a club advisor and an aide who are leaving us, and you will see both of those positions will be filled in the next section. Now, 3.02, employment. We have lots of items since this is the beginning of the school year. So in section 1, we would like to welcome our student aides and our student assistants who we are hiring to help with our youngsters. Number 2, you can see those are supplemental contracts for our teachers who are advisors, for instance, for the yearbook and also technology. Number 3, it's just a correction to the August agenda. We have moved some of our volunteers and club advisors have switched positions. Number 4, we'd like to welcome Jasmine Armstrong. She is going to be one of our subs for our classified employees, so welcome to her. Number 5 is a change of status. Again, it's a matter of an advisor moving from part-time to full-time. Number 6 is the area where our non-certified coaches and advisors receive contracts. So as you can see, right at number 6 is we are starting to hire for our winter sports. Believe it or not, that's not too far away. Number 7, Avenues for Success, which is our great after-school program. So we've hired lots of site coordinators and assistant site coordinators. In addition, we're also hiring staff for our homework club at the high school and the middle school, and our family engagement coordinator and our middle school teacher liaison. These are supplemental positions in our agreement with NTA. And I believe that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Ronan. Do I have a motion to approve items 3.01 and 3.02?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I will be abstaining from this vote. Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood, yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Ms. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Abstain. All right, moving on, item 4, this is our Education Committee report, and I will turn the floor over to Mrs. Rarica.
Thank you, Madam President. We have 13 field trips coming up. I won't name them all because it's a lot, but they look like they're going to some fun places. Camp Camelgard, Green Acres, some university, Heritage Gorman Farms, Cincinnati Nature Center, colleges, and Beacon Orthopedics. I guess they'll learn how to do surgery, which is awesome. And then we have also a new textbook. Our AP Human Geography will be having a new textbook. And then we have a vote box after that.
Do I have a motion to approve items 4.01 and 4.02?
I'll motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Item 5 on the agenda, this is our policy committee report, and I will turn the floor over to Vice President Taylor.
Thank you, Madam President. We have 3 policies and 1 regulation that will be considered for updating. BDDG, this policy was updated to more closely match the language in revised code and case law. It allows the board to waive the reading of its minutes, but asks that all necessary corrections are made and then approve the minutes of each meeting at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Districts should make minutes available to the board 2 days prior to the next regular scheduled meeting. Copies are also made available to the public. EHA, policy EHA, data, records, and retention, to clarify the commission's responsibilities when adopting or revising a records retention schedule and disposing of records. The updated policy also distinguishes between the disposal of records that appear on the district's approved records retention schedule and the disposal of obsolete records. The records meeting follows the Open Meetings Act, and therefore we also share the day, time, and place. Notes will be posted on the district's website. Most of the language of this policy was in there, but has been moved around into 3 key areas. First is the commission and who is part of the review and how often. The second is the retention schedule. And the third area is how to dispose of records. EHAR, rescinding, based on the guidance from Ohio History Connections Local Governance Records Program and the Ohio Electronic Records Committee. Email and social media platforms are a medium for conveying records, and as a result, the retention or disposal of email messages and social media content must be related to the information they contain or purpose they serve. Recommend that we still review, but not worthy of separate policy and regulation. Finally, JED. JED is student absences and excuses. Has been updated to reflect the changes and remove references to considerations specific to COVID-19. Absences are categorized into medically and non-medically excused absences. Some additional reasons fall under the category of emergency or other set of circumstances in which the judgment of the superintendent will be used to determine a good and sufficient cause for absence from school. I'd like to make a motion to approve the first reading of 3 policies and the 1 regulation.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Mr. Atwood?
So I just wanted to be very clear that the way that we amend policies, that we do 2 official readings. So the first reading will happen tonight. If there's any other review of the policy that causes us to have to reconsider them, the policies don't go into effect until after the second reading, which will happen next month. So tonight is just the first reading for the revisions for these policies that we're
And
addressing tonight.
these policies, the revisions of policies can be found in the board minutes that are posted on the website. So if anybody has any issue in finding those, you can reach out to any of us and we will help you. Anything else? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Item 6 on the agenda, this is our Building and Grounds Committee report, and I will turn the floor over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. I can get it to open. All right, we have 3 items on the list for tonight. We have Seven Hills School swim team practice at the high school pool. They have a schedule worked out with our AD. Summit Country Day also has swim practices at the pool. Again, schedule is on hand with the AD. And Intercity Soccer would like to use our field at Shea Stadium for practices and games. And that schedule is also available through the AD. I'd like to make a motion that we approve these 3 uses as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I think it's pretty cool that the private schools need to use our pool.
We have a cool pool. Anything
Good
else?
job.
Anything else? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. All right, item 7, this is our Finance Committee report, and I will be turning it over to Treasurer Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Madam President. 7.01. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. 7.01 is our financial reports, the CFO report, monthly financials, and change order listings for your approval. I have removed the substantial completion documentation for the high school from the agenda that you saw last week because the contractor still has several change orders outstanding that need discussed and approved first. 7.02 is temporary appropriations, which is our budget for the current year. 7.03, unfortunately, we need to reject all bids that came in last week for the Shea Stadium remodel. All of them came in more than 10% in addition to the estimate. So per ORC, we must reject them all. However, 7.04, I'm asking the board to re-advertise the bid for Shea Stadium's remodel. To advertise the project known as Shea Stadium Remodel, the bid opening will be 9 a.m. on October 10th. I would like the board to agree to a special meeting after our committee meeting on October 10th to accept a bid for this project if it meets the board schedule. That will give our architect and the winning bidder 3 weeks to complete a contract and for the general contractor to mobilize to be on site by November 1st. There is a vote box there.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll motion to approve 7.01 through 7.04.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Go ahead, Mrs. Camphouse.
7.05, Shea Field Turf and Track Purchase to approve the MOATS contract, including the plan design known as PF 1.13 for the field turf and track purchased. Also, the contract is attached for your review, and this is the PF 1.13 includes the changes that you asked us to make from last week. There's a vote box there also.
Do I have a motion to approve 7.05?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I don't know if there's any way, I know the attachment is part of the agenda. I don't know if there's any way to, okay. So this is the field design that we are approving for the remodel of Shea. And we have to place the order for that turf and the design now, so that way it will come in time.
And this is all pending approval with construction. I assume that's going to happen first. Turf goes in after all that's done, right?
Yeah, this will happen in conjunction with the remodel, just because the bid for, doing the HVAC and all the structural work came in a little bit higher, and it has to go out for rebid. The field's going to get redone either way, so.
I just want to make sure, but it's going to fall under timeline. So if that bidding process pushes it back, this, even if we agree on it, will also get pushed back to meet that new timeline, depending on the construction of the stadium itself.
Both of the contractor that we will approve from the rebidding and MOATS will work together to make sure that they can accomplish it all by football season, if that's what you're asking. Yes,
Yeah,
they will work together.
It wouldn't
Yep.
throw us off, or we didn't have to put the field down and then have it risk being damaged.
It will not, no.
If
They know,
construction-
both of them will know that we're doing the other project at the same time.
Okay.
I do have a question, but we are not technically open for discussion yet because we haven't made a motion. So do I?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did?
We
did
did
make
motion,
the motion?
yeah, we're in discussion
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry. I lost track for a second.
It's been a few.
It's been a few, yes. I forget how to do this sometimes. We had talked, Mary, you and I talked about some blue things on the track about, did we rule that out?
No, we didn't. It's just.
Your mic's not
we
on.
could certainly add it. It was, sorry, it was, for relays. It was where the white little squares are, that could be blue, a shaded area. So when you're doing relays, that could be added in blue if it would please the board.
Yes, I was on the phone with Mary this week. She mentioned to me that somebody stopped into the office, looked at the plans and said, oh, this plan has these blue markers. And Mary said, what do you think about that? And I said, I love it. Let's go with the blue markers.
And it had been on one of the models, but I think we failed to notice it.
Okay.
I think we were focused on the field and not so much on
Exactly.
track.
And maybe that would be a nice
Oh, that looks
addition.
cool. Yeah.
If
Isn't
you
that
like
neat?
that.
Yeah, the blue markers actually
I don't know
serve
if you guys can
a
see that.
purpose because normally in track and field for the relay races, the blue markers designate the zones for the transfer of the baton. And typically, if there are no markers, they have to put out flags for that, for the
Okay.
individual lanes. So the blue markers on the track just makes it actually easier
Yeah.
and better for the student athletes for the relay transfers.
So we all like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got that one, Julie?
So then we would accept the contract upon your vote with a modification to the plan to include the blue markers. I will put that in the minutes so that it's official. And then we can make the contract match the minutes, if that works for the board.
Do we need to do anything here to make that official, or are we good?
Mr. Atwood needs to mark on the agenda notes that you're approving that contract with the addition of the blue, was it blue markers? Is that what you called them?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, blue
Yes.
markers. That's the technical term.
And I'll say, I don't want to vote against our contract. I am for our contract, but our current stadium says Norwood on both sides, and I'm pro Norwood on both sides, but that's only part of the vote. Oh, and another really interesting thing that people here might not have heard while we were discussing is that the soccer lines will be gray, which you can't really tell in the picture, but they're currently red, right? And some athletes are in our district are actually red-green colorblind and can't see those lines. So that was a huge win in this design. I feel that we discovered something that we can do to help our athletes.
Any other discussion? It always happens, it's okay. Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood, yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. All right, you can continue, Mrs. Camphouse.
Please? Oh, thank you.
I said you can
7.06, Williams Avenue Remodel Project, substantial completion and final pay application. This is the final approval to close out the Williams Avenue Elementary renovation project, including the final payment to the general contractor. 7.07, capital improvement budget and plan. Our taxpayers approved a 2.55 mil permanent improvement levy in November of 2016 to provide funding to maintain our century-old buildings. This budget documents the projects we expect to be upcoming and estimates the cost of such projects to be paid for from that PI levy. 7.08, mandatory secondary signer at Star Ohio. Star Ohio has mandated a secondary signer for every public entity that invests with them. After much discussion and planning of internal controls, I'm asking the board to approve the Finance Committee chairperson as secondary signer. Internal controls will be such that permissions are not granted to the finance chair unless the treasurer is incapacitated. 7.09, Norwood Ready Kids. Annual agreements for our Ready Kids program to serve our youngest learners that we just heard a lot about in our presentation. 7.10, Elementary Building Security Project. To approve the purchase orders to install updates to exterior security at our elementary buildings. Some of this project will be paid for with K-12 Ohio Security Grant funds. And this is an update as we already have very secure exterior doors, and this is adding to that project. 7.11, modify contracts for services. to modify the previously approved contract for Lori Gray so that her starting date is August 14th. 7.12, Consortium of States School Board Association. Amber Ballard has been invited to present for the Consortium of States School Board meetings. If chosen for this honor, Ms. Ballard will highlight our hard work to promote and protect Ohio's public schools. You are approving the travel costs that will arise if she's selected to present. 7.13, Special Education Agreement with UTS to provide travel arrangements in order to meet IEP goals for one student. And finally, 7.14, then and now purchase orders. There's a few purchase orders needing further approval. And that is everything for finance.
Thank you, Mrs. Camphouse. Do I have a motion to approve 7.06 through 7.14?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood, yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Okay, with finance concluded, we are moving on to item 8 on the agenda. This is the hearing of the public, and I do need to read this before we get started. All meetings of the board and board-appointed committees are open to the public. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 15 minutes of public participation will be devoted to any one topic unless a majority of the board votes to continue the discussion. Public participation at committee meetings is limited to those invited to speak on specific issues. Each person addressing the board shall complete a form listing his or her name, address, and the agenda or non-agenda item. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 5 minutes until the total time of 15 minutes per topic is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on the regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Agendas are available to all those who attend board meetings. The section on the agenda for public participation shall be indicated. Noted at the bottom of each agenda shall be a short paragraph outlining the board's policy on public participation at board meetings. The board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel or complaints against any person connected with the district during public hearing times at board meetings. Such concerns and comments about individuals should be brought to the attention of the administration. Please note, the board will not be able to comment on the public participation topic or address each participant. This does not indicate a lack of concern or a lack of action on behalf of the board. Board members will follow through with administration as needed, and this policy was approved July 21st, 2022. So with that, we will enter into public participation. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do have just 5 forms that have been completed for those that wish to speak publicly. So I think we will probably be within the 15 minutes allotted. I personally am fine with having all 5 people speak. Mr. Atwood, do I need to make a motion to allow all 5 in case we extend, or?
Since I don't think everybody will go a full 5 minutes, but if it does, start running long, we can, after we reach the 15-minute mark, we can then vote as a board to extend the time. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but as a formality, we could just make sure we do that right.
Yes, we do try to follow the rules. So we will go ahead and get started. As I read from the policy, each person is limited to 5 minutes, so I will be setting a timer on my phone, and we will need to ask you to stop after that 5 minutes is up. So I just want to make that clear to everybody. Our first speaker, we have Mr. Danny Blair at 4619 Carter Avenue, and he is here to speak about the Indian icon. So Mr. Blair, once you get up here, the floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening.
Oh, there we go.
My name's Danny Blair. I'm a lifelong resident here. My family's been in Norwood for 70 years. I actually had no idea or thought I was going to ask to do this until last night when I saw the board meeting. And then I just had to sign up to say what I think is the right thing. So, a little history. Norwood Indian Mound is a prehistoric Native American earthwork. I grew up on the mound. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on May 2nd, 1974, when my twin brothers graduated from Norwood High School. The Adinas, Native American Indians, settled in the pre-Columbian era. Archaeologists believe the mound was used by the Adinas for religious ceremonies and smoke signaling. There is no evidence that the site has ever been excavated or otherwise destroyed. In my opinion, it's always been respected. It's been mentioned, no doubt, the mound, the soil, was doubtless sacred to the red man. Adena earthworks were often built as part of their burial rituals. Only a small number of the remaining larger Adena earthen monuments still survive today. This is more of a personal note here. We have been the Norwood Indians for over 90 years, and we respect their heritage. Some don't want to change. I believe they don't understand what it means to the community, the past alumni, athletes who played their hearts out representing the Indians. Some wanting to change may not live in the community or only going to be here temporarily, I honestly believe. To some, it's a job. There will always be people who agree and disagree, no matter what the situation or circumstance may be. Lastly, I'm a Norwoodite. I've lived in Norwood for 61 years. My wife works in the school system. My kids graduated from here. My brothers graduated from here. My grandson's a junior here. I love Norwood. I'm always going to be a Norwood Indian. You know, I have to say this, I'm shaking because it's so personal to me. I'm against the change 100%. We're all allowed to have our own opinions. I will always be a Norwood Indian, and pardon me, I'm damn proud of it. Go Indians, with the utmost respect. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mr. Brent Leon at 2229 Washington Avenue. He wishes to speak to us on public discourse and promoting a healthy, inclusive community. Mr. Leon, once you get to the mic, you will have 5 minutes.
I'd like to thank everybody here, the board, for the thankless job that they have, the time that you've given to this, but also to the community as well. Ms. Ronan, we've followed you from Cincinnati here to Norwood, and are really thankful that you're here. To the staff that's here from Norwood, and this community. I moved here about 18 years ago. I didn't choose to move to Norwood. I chose to move with my now wife, and had our family here, have our family here. We will choose to stay here because of the love that we have for this community. One of the things that I've grown to love about this community is that the differences that I may have with my neighbors, we can still be neighbors. We can still disagree, but at the same time, we can be. The most important things is a community. I've had neighbors that have not been very inclusive, have not been very inviting to another member of our community. But when that neighbor of mine that was not very inviting had a first-hand experience with another neighbor, I was overjoyed to see how his opinions changed because of a first-hand experience. I encourage everyone here to think about history is wonderful, but before we were Indians, there was another name. Before we were Norwood, there was another name. There will always be change. What will remain, who will remain, and what commitment do we have to one another, I think is one of the most important things about this community and why I will stay. I encourage you to think about not only the history, but also how do our decisions now affect our future? The folks here, I've known, I've been in homes, I've campaigned for some of you, I've voted for you. I have Coles that live across the street from me. I have people that I've been in their homes for my current job, for my past jobs. And I have to say that I don't agree with some of the things that people have said or done. But we are still part of a community. And some of the things that I'm seeing and hearing online and in person, I want to respect those people, but I'm ashamed of the actions that they're taking and the things that they're saying about others in our community. We can disagree, but we need to respect one another for those differing opinions. Opinions change over time. Think about some of the things that have changed over time that we look at now and say, how did we ever think that way? Opinions change. I encourage you to open your mind and say, how do these things that we're going to make decisions on now, how will they affect us in the future? Will we be respected? Can we respect those decisions? Will we respect those decisions that we'll make now in the future? So again, I want to thank everybody here. I really do value your input. Even if we may not agree on some things, I value you and I thank you. I really do. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ms. Leon. Our next speaker, we have Mr. Andy Bolts of 2242 Drex Avenue. And Mr. Bolts is here to speak about the Indian icon. Mr. Bolts, like everybody else, once you're in place, you will have 5 minutes.
First of all, I want to thank all the board members for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Thank you so much. I'm a proud 1977 grad of Norwood High School. I lived in Norwood for 64 and a half years until my fiance, who's also a Norwood grad, and I recently moved to Silverton. I was a clock operator for a combined 65 seasons of Norwood Indian football and basketball. So you can see that the city of Norwood Indian blood runs deep in my veins. I got a couple of phrases I want you guys to hear and remember. Preserve and represent the culture and heritage of Native American, Indigenous, and First Nations people. Second one, cultivating knowledge about Native American history in local and regional communities. I want you guys to remember those. I'll let you know about them later. For those of you that are new to Norwood, believe it or not, we do have an actual Indian mound that's been talked about before, and 74 was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The mound is thought to be associated with the Adena culture. As a result, over 90 years ago, the moniker Indians was chosen by the high school to honor this local Native American heritage. This Indian moniker was not pulled out of a hat. My opinion is what we need to do is educate not only our students, but parents on this history. How about a Native American History Week? Last week, the Native American Guardian said they would come to our school to help educate the students. Let's embrace, not erase, this history. In conclusion, board members, our Norwood Indian tribe and I are just asking to leave our Norwood Indians alone and to pass a resolution that our moniker remains the same for decades to come. Oh, and by the way, those phrases I mentioned above are from the mission statement of the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition. And if that's the case, let me reiterate to embrace, not erase, because if the Indians moniker goes away, erasing history is what you will be doing. Love and honor to Old Norwood.
Next up, we have Mr. Timothy Brown, 2264 Buxton Avenue. Mr. Brown would like to speak about the Norwood mascot. Mr. Brown, I will start your clock when you get to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Timothy Brown. I've lived in Norwood my entire life, 70 years. As a child, I grew up on Indian Mound Avenue, right across the street from the mound at 2430. We played on the tower property next door. At the age of 9, 10, 11, and 12, we were always told, don't do anything to the mound. It's sacred. If a ball, a baseball, or football, which we played with all the time up at the mound, finds its way on there, be quick about it. Get it off and bring it back. We were told about the Adena people back then. We were told that Indiana University was invited by the city of Norwood back in the 1930s or 40s to come do a study. They're the ones who, we were told, arrived at the conclusion that it was a burial mound. They didn't have the x-ray equipment then that they do now, but they had found several artifacts in decades past which were given to the Cincinnati Museum, this history museum. They determined that it was a burial mound at one time, and possibly could have also been used for other Indian rites, we were told. So fast forward, I grew up in Norwood. I attended Norwood High School from 1966 to 1970. Every one of my classmates, graduates, all the teachers, and the administrators, including the Board of Education, always held the name Indian and the logo of the Native American with the headgear in reference. I never once heard anyone make a disparaging remark about the name Indian or Indians or Native Americans or the logo depiction. Fast forward 4 years after I graduated from high school at Norwood High and attended University of Cincinnati, I joined the Norwood Police Force. The last time I was in this room was in 1996 when I was chief of police. I was here to announce that the city of Norwood and the schools jointly worked, and I worked many, many weeks and months with Jim Ballinger, who was superintendent, and Dave Beamer, who was assistant superintendent. We worked on the DARE program. We set that up. We worked on a bicycle patrol program, which spent a lot of its time in and around the schools' properties, all the schools. And we set up a police on-duty security detail outside the middle school and the high school so that there would be harmony between all the age groups when they got out. So I have a long history with the Norwood City Schools. I've always heard reverence used. The Indian name and the Norwood Indian name was always held by our classmates and teachers as one of honor and bravery. And again, I would ask that the board take no action on changing the name, Norwood Indians, or the image or likeness of the Native American as it's currently being used. Everyone I know in this town has always held reverence for the name. In fact, it has spurred some people to do a little bit of their own investigation and work. There was a teacher at Norwood in the late 60s, early 70s, and I believe his name was Gleason. He had some Native American heritage. He would bring artifacts in and headdresses, as we called them. He would explain to the students in his classes. They didn't hold any special assemblies. He could only hold them in his own classes in history and explain and teach. And I think that's what we might be able to do in the future. Perhaps the coalition can either get together with the Norwood City Schools and have a half a credit hour or 1 credit hour class for students, maybe juniors and seniors who've already attained their academic requirements for graduation, to take as an elective to learn more, which goes towards the coalition's mission statement. So short of that, I just want to thank you all for your time. And Go Indians.
And last but not least, we have Bishop Sonny James. He would like to speak with us. Does this say mascot? I can't say, does it say March and celebration. All right, Mr. James, I will start your timer.
Thank you. First and foremost, to God be all the glory. Thanking the board, thankful to all of our Norwood residents. I stand before you. I'm glad that I came tonight to even just hear the discussion. Many of you know that my time here in Norwood has not always been well received or pleasant. Because yes, I stand against status quo. And yes, I stand against anything that mirrors anything that has hindered the advancement of people that look like me, think like me, and live like me. But tonight, my primary focus is to bring knowledge about a great celebration. We have folks from all over the country traveling in to Norwood because the film producers of the film, A Fire You Can't Put Out, you can find it on YouTube right now. In October, we will be bringing literally hundreds of people, nationally recognized individuals, some of the leading civil rights leaders that you've ever heard about. This initiative is being led by myself and a whole lot of other folks that I have intentionally not allowed to come in on any of our other marches. And it was real simple. If you look at what was going on in downtown Cincinnati, I've personally vowed that anything that I do, I wanted to lift up our people, lift up our community, and lift up our families, and not to do anything that could harm us or tear us down. This will be the very first march in October. We had originally said the 14th, and then I was reminded, some of you know that I've had some very horrific health battles, and the surgeons have said they have to see me the day before. So I've reached back out to the city to ask for October the 28th. I'm asking the school board and all of our folks connected to any school here, let's make history together. Let's show that the Reverend and Dr., as you know, Martin Luther King Jr., he would not have done the things he's done except for a man called Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. Begged him and pleaded with him. Took 4 years for him to get Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to go to Alabama, and then history was made. But we're going to highlight what those marches were like. But I stand before you as probably the community's most outspoken diversity advocate, maybe in Norwood's history. But I'm asking you all to let's partner together, because one thing that I cannot stand is when my peers say, "Hey, Bishop, how things in Norwood coming?" And I say, "Hey, I think they're going great." But then they constantly remind me of the old Norwood, the old bad reputation. And I believe if we all partner together and come together, black, white, young, not so young, I say that carefully, and we come together on the streets of Norwood, just like we've done in our parades. We'll have national media there. And I'm going to use that to showcase our fine community and how Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, who led to Dr. Martin Luther King, their vision is what Norwood is together right now. And whether you stand together on all issues, we are Norwood. And you will hear me in front of this massive, massive group of people on my bullhorn yelling, "Norwood, Ohio!" I believe in this community. When I challenge because there's something to challenge. But let's not make this a divisive thing. I'm urging every family in Norwood, Ohio, to come together when you hear about this march. This is about you. This is for all of us to come together to show all of the naysayers that we are the vision that those great, great men died to see. And we're going to be on display. And so it's up to us how we show that. We'll have folks in wheelchairs. We'll have children in strollers. Please come out. I'm closing to respect regarding the Indian Mound conversation. Don't make any decision based on history. Make decisions based on what's best launching us forward. Whatever you decide to do, God bless you. And God be with you.
Thank you, Bishop James. Okay, so item 9 on our agenda, that concludes our public comment section. Item 9 on the agenda is a resolution regarding Norwood High School's icon. Mr. Atwood, I did not discuss this with you, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you like to read the resolution since you led the discussions with the Native American Guardians Association?
Sure. I think it would be best if we did that during the discussion period.
Okay.
So I would like to motion that we approve the resolution on our agenda 9.01.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So with the
May I say
resolution,
something real quick before you read it in full?
go for it.
I just want to apologize to the folks who came out tonight thinking that this, because it says Norwood High School's icon, that you thought that this meant we were changing it. You didn't have enough time to read the resolution that Brandon's about to read to you, and I apologize for that. We're not here to change the icon tonight. I appreciate your messages, but I think that you were not given the right impression and that you didn't have the opportunity to read this information before tonight.
I was also going to ask for a point of clarity that has there ever been a board member who has proposed that we change the icon by a vote in the meeting? No, there has not. But that is what was said on the internet last night. And that's not true, and it never has happened.
The resolution is not to change the
It's not
icon.
to change.
So I apologize if that was what you were led to believe. Yes.
Yes, we are
But
gonna read-
I
we are
wanted
gonna
to
read the
make sure
resolution.
you knew that when you hear this, you didn't get the chance to read it in full, and that title might have misled you, but that is not why we're here. No one said we were changing the icon. No one brought forward that we were changing it. So I apologize that that's what you were under the assumption of. Brandon, can you please read it in full?
Yes, I will be happy to. So it's a resolution concerning the Norwood High School's icon and the Norwood Mound with the guidance from the Native American Guardians Association. And it reads, whereas the city of Norwood has within its boundaries the Norwood Mound, which is a prehistoric Native American earthwork located in the city of Norwood's Water Tower Park and within the Norwood City School District, which are both part of the city of Norwood. And whereas the mound is the highest elevation in Norwood and one of the highest elevations in all of Southwest Ohio, and the size, shape, and location of the mound suggests it was constructed by people of the Adena culture during pre-Columbian era and used by the Adena for religious ceremonies. And whereas the mound is the only Native American mound now remaining in the vicinity of Southwest Ohio, and the site has never been excavated or disturbed, and whereas it was reported that many relics were found in the area by early settlers in the late 1800s, and that these artifacts formed the beginning of the Native American art collection at the Cincinnati Art Museum, and whereas the Norwood Historical Association also houses artifacts found near the mound and has preserved them, and whereas This Norwood earthwork mound was listed on the National Historic Register of Historic Places on May 2nd, 1974. Now, therefore, be it resolved, because of the historical significance of the Norwood earthwork mound found in the city of Norwood and through the authority of the Native American Guardian Association, the Norwood City School District is permitted to use the icon of the arrowhead, the feathers, the Indian head, will remain being known as the Norwood Indians as since 1933, at least, after a change from Big Red originating from the high school's founding in 1919. Be it finally resolved, the Norwood Board of Education will continue the tradition of using the Norwood Indians as the name for its sports teams. The district will abide by the recommendations, consultation, and guidance from the Native American Guardian Association that has reviewed our website and sports site. Furthermore, the Norwood City School District will agree to the Native American Guardian Association's recommendations as enumerated below. And in the recommendations that are attached to this resolution, the recommendations state, number one, your school's Norwood High School natives' nickname and imagery are both dignified and respectful, therefore we see no definitive need to change. Number two, refrain from the use of an Indian quote-unquote mascot performer. Number three, widely disseminate to the students, alumni, and the community at large standards for appropriate fan behavior, which shall include the following. It is not appropriate for fans to wear an Indian war bonnet. In American Indian culture, the war bonnet is sacred and something earned through acts of bravery. Fans should respect that cultural tradition. It is not appropriate to mimic or define American Indian culture in any manner that is clearly disrespectful to American Indian people and their culture. Oftentimes, what is considered appropriate can be highly subjective. Therefore, we recommend consultation. It is not appropriate for fans to display imagery, particularly on apparel, that clearly mocks or in any way denigrates Native people. Again, we recommend consultation prior to changing any logos. Widely disseminate to students, alumni, and the greater community at large both the history of the term Indians as well as the history of your school's nickname and logo, and implement an ongoing American Indian educational initiatives, which should include any combination of curriculum, hosting of cultural events, student field trips to a powwow, among other options. That is the resolution.
And everything Mr. Atwood just read is also available on the board agenda that is posted for anybody to view on the website. And again, any board member can help direct you to that should you need assistance. Any further discussion?
So I would like clarity on why we are having a resolution.
So I know that this has been a topic for many years that dates prior to my time on the board in 2019. It kind of seems to ebb and flow. We get a lot of discussion about it. People kind of back off. You know, COVID happened for a while, so then everybody was very passionate about COVID. And then this comes back. I know as of late, the board as a whole has received 5 emails. 4 of them are exactly the same email. The highlights are exactly the same. It's as if somebody wrote the email and asked everybody to send it to the board. And all of these are asking us to change our Indian. They don't like the Indian. So I think that, you know, Mr. Atwood, he's typically the one that has been replying to these emails. And he took it a step further and he reached out and found the Native American Guardians Association and began the partnership with them to obtain their acceptance of the use of our Indians. So I think that the reason the board is doing this now is simply to hopefully take a stand on this matter. Like I said, it kind of ebbs and flows. And, then we get, and this isn't the first time we've had these emails. These are just the ones that we've received in the past month. I'm looking at the first one. So I think this is just a way for the board to say where we stand on this matter. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if I can just add to that. So in my response to those emails, in every response, I stated, and I did a reply all, that I would be more than happy to partner with a Native American organization and have them do a review to see if in any way, shape, or form we were doing something inappropriate. And so I was following through with what I said I was going to do. And, the result of that is the resolution that we're seeing now.
Can you clarify why you chose the Native American Guardians Association over the many local organizations that we have?
It's a good point. The many local organizations that you have may not have the same view. The reason why I chose the Native American Guardian Association is because that organization has an outreach that encompasses the vast majority of Native American people, a far greater outreach than any other local organization. So if you want to go and get an opinion that has a broad reach, then you reach for an organization that has, polling for over 90% of Native American people. And that's what the Native American Guardian Association has. You can't find that with some of the more local Native American coalitions. They're just too small. So that's what I did. I went for a broad reach. That doesn't mean that we couldn't work with anybody else. So I'm not saying we only partner with one organization. I'm just saying that that's the organization that I reached out to because of the broad outreach. They did a review. They presented to us last week with that review, which we all sat through and listened to. And the result was the resolution that we see here tonight.
Funny thing about the polling, there was a story written in 2020, published in Sports Illustrated, that did mention that group and how they like to consistently cite these two polls, both of which say roughly 90% of Natives support the name. Multiple tribe leaders say the feedback they receive is much different and that the polling questions and methodology were flawed. Earlier this year, that would have been 2020, a new UC Berkeley study found that at least half of Native Americans surveyed are offended by, and they were talking about the Washington Redskins names team, with an even higher percentage among those who say they are heavily engaged in their Native or tribal cultures.
Any other discussion?
When did this resolution get posted? Because I thought we had to give more than a day, and I know that I didn't get to see it until yesterday, which is why I think we ended up with a very big uproar because folks didn't have time to open it or access what this was.
I believe this was posted on Friday. Mary, can you help?
No, that isn't correct. When I went back and looked, I guess we have been posting all of our board minutes the day of the meeting. It is a choice. The board can make a decision. So when it came up yesterday, I just stayed consistent and said, since this is what we've been doing, apparently since we've been using the board docs software, the board sees it ahead of time, but actually it doesn't become public until the morning. Now, I'm not sure if that's 12:30 a.m.
It just
or
created
8
a bit of
a.m.
an uproar.
I know.
And our
then
community did not get a chance to read it in full, which I don't think was
With our
very
new-
fair.
Sorry, Julie, did you want to say something?
Yes, with our new board policy that we just had the first reading on, that will change. We have to give 48-hour notice to both the board and the public. So we will change our software to meet that need with a new board policy.
Any further discussion? Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Given that I only got to see it yesterday, I'm going to vote no Not that I don't disagree with these things, but I think that the public deserved more time to see this. And again, I apologize that you guys didn't know.
Let's be respectful, please. Thank you.
Mrs. Rarica?
I'm voting no, not because I disagree with many of the things in there. Lots of it is about education. It's wonderful.
Yes.
I'm voting no because I think this was born out of parents writing to us about their concerns and that we should just respect their concerns.
Where are they?
Please be respectful.
Mr. Taylor?
Our job is to respect them, not to make a big deal about it.
How do you change it? I'm Indian.
Let's please be respectful.
I don't want it changed.
Yeah, we don't want
This is not a resolution to change it, and I
I'm
don't
voting
want
yes.
it changed.
The public,
Resolutions-
the public discussion is over. If we want comments from the public, we need to fill out the paper and follow protocol.
Mrs. Cole?
Love and honor, yes. So with that, the resolution passes. Moving on in the agenda, item 10, these are the board announcements. 10.01, any board member have any announcements they would like to share?
Are we going to start sharing our things from the elementaries in this section?
We can, if you would like.
Do you want to do that? Okay. Do I get out?
I was going to say, do we want to wait a minute for those that wish to? All right, Mrs. Rarick, I think you, well, maybe not. All right. Ms. Havlin, can we direct our guests out into the hallway, please? All right, Mrs. Rarick, I think we can continue.
I have the Montessori and View. Montessori has a lot of things coming up. They have picture day tomorrow, and they've had Spirit Week all week, but they all have. They're going to have their donuts with grandparents and guardians tomorrow morning. I think I might stop by. Their PTO is Tuesday, October 3rd, 7:30 at Factory 52 at the Gatherall, and they're going to have a movie night November 3rd. And they're looking for parents to volunteer for morning greeters. It's called Hellos, Handshakes, and High Fives. And each week, some families are going to volunteer to greet everybody as they walk in, which I think should be really cute. View has a walkathon coming up September 29th from 12:30 to 2:30 during school, and I think I will stop by that one too.
Any other board announcements? For those not aware with what Mrs. Rarica was talking about at the beginning, many years ago, when I first started on the board in 19, we had what we called board liaisons. So we have 5 schools, or we had 5 schools, now we have the Montessori, but 5 schools, 5 board members, so it just kind of worked that each board member partnered with a building principal to be what we called the liaison. Of course, everybody's welcome to talk to everybody, but it's just an informal partnership. So we went ahead and reestablished that. So it's not going to be a requirement that each board member give updates about that particular school necessarily at every meeting, just if something fun or interesting is going on, we might talk about that. So that's what she was talking about at the beginning. Any other board announcements?
I guess I can throw this one out there because it didn't really fall into either of my other reports. On 9/11, I got to participate in the Urban Boards Conference up in Columbus. We had a state senator and legislator, both from the Columbus area, that came to speak on building relationships with schools and to fill us in on the legislative initiatives they're working on and to address issues on budget and our report card. Information was given to me about House Bill 135 and House Bill 49, which both are potentially going to move forward with regards to student attendance. And in part of that bill is actually something from Representative Byrd that incorporates something similar to what we did with our resolution for students with disabilities to be counted on the report card going forward. So if that passes, they may not need the resolution in the fall, so I'm keeping a really close eye on it. But they were able to give me some information on that. And we also had a panel of 4 students from public school backgrounds to give a better metric on the reflection of our work as board members. The biggest takeaway that we were able to gain was that investing in our students, we must have a willingness to listen to their concerns because it speaks the loudest to measure our success. So they had a student panel and they really recommended every school across the state of Ohio to incorporate student leaders and getting kind of a gambit, have students with all grade backgrounds, sports backgrounds, music backgrounds to participate in this type of panel to give the board feedback and let us know how we're doing, because we can talk policies all day long, but if we don't hear from our students and how they're actually being effective, then we can't grow as a board. So that was a really cool takeaway. And one of the students that was on the panel were like, we're voting for him one day. That guy's running for president. We know it. He just had it. But it was such a cool experience to hear from those students and see the growth that they had in public schools.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Bauer. Any other board announcements?
Homecoming is Saturday.
Oh my gosh, yeah, homecoming. How did we, yeah. And I think they're wanting any former football players from whenever to be recognized.
Football players, coaches.
Okay, yeah, so Friday night at the football game, there's a sign-up thing on Facebook if anybody wants to look that up. How did we forget homecoming?
I don't know, my kid had her dress on before I left for the meeting.
Uh-oh, practicing. Anything else? All right, 10.02, Superintendent's Report, so I will turn it over to Mrs. Ronan.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a short report tonight, and it's just a brief overview of the start of school. Our theme for this year is Shining Together, so we have a great picture of the Williams Elementary staff. On our next page, we do want to thank our AD, Chuck Richardson. He had his friends from the Cincinnati Reds, the Gapper, and Mr. Redlegs come and greeted all the children at the elementary schools the first and second day of school. So that was much appreciated. So as you can see, we've got happy students, happy teachers, and happy parents outside our buildings. Now, one thing new this year, in partnership with Crayons to Computers, Sam Hubbard has started a foundation, and he is put in our elementary buildings and actually our middle school building also to be shared on campus, Hubbard's Cupboard. So this is a California closet for all the women in the audience that houses school supplies and some snacks for children. So this is a great asset because typically our teachers do go to Crayons to Computers to pick up school supplies for their classroom, but now they're actually going to be right here in the building. And Mr. Hubbard actually came by to Sharpsburg, filled a commercial for his foundation, and there he is with Principal Akers. So we've had a great start to the school year. And I mean, isn't that a perfect picture? There she is with the lines on the paper that we all used when we were first learning how to print our letters. So with that, that concludes, my report. But I did put on your table the enrollment numbers so you could take a look at how we're doing with enrollment. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Ronan. That is a darling picture.
And she had a bow in her hair and cute little shoes. It was, yes, it's the perfect picture for the first day of school.
Awesome. Thank you so much. 10.03, this is the Great Oaks Report, and I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. We had our Great Oaks meeting on the 13th, and I actually got to lead my first workshop, and that was on SEL and the future of work. For those who don't know, SEL is social emotional learning. And the importance of social emotional learning in the classroom to basically future-proof our students. A lot of jobs are being turned into AI, and about 40% of the workforce is expected to be reskilled as businesses implement more and more AI and automation over the next few years. Basically, 2/3 of our Gen Z and millennial workforce are going to need to be reskilled in the next coming years. What SEL can do for your students is it can teach them how to build relationships, offer sympathy, empathy, and support. And that's something that AI cannot do. You can't replace the human factor in every position. So developing strategies that are going to help make our students fit into every workforce and make them, give them the skills that they need to be able to bridge gaps, retool their learning capacity, and how to work from a trauma-informed lens so that they can have different perspectives in learning going forward. And those kids are going to be more successful in all fields, no matter what AI tends to do going forward. It was a really great opportunity to teach that workshop. We've also been asked to develop a presentation for potential state and national conferences related to this work and ongoing DEI work. And then our upcoming Southwest Fall Conference is going to be on October 12th at Laurel Oaks. And anyone is welcome to attend. If you would like to, please let Julie know. But that celebrates all districts across the Southwest Ohio. Just Oaks happens to be the host for that event. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ballard. 10.04, this is the Norwood Community Television Board. This is my committee. And just a brief update tonight. Tyler says they've been working on fixing up the studio and they're getting ready for club to start. I think that we all remember last school year, the video club students were making movies, busy making movies. They made a horror film and we were all, every month, I know we were waiting for that update. So that will be getting started very soon. We don't know what they're going to choose. Tyler was telling me he doesn't know what they're going to choose to do, but whatever it is, I know it's going to be terrific. All right, and then 10.05, this is our OSBA legislative liaison. This is Mr. Atwood and Ms. Ballard. Anybody else?
Report.
As I mentioned, we've got the House Bill 135 and House Bill 49 that are still in play as it pertains to student attendance and hopefully with disabilities having that graduation component added in as well. The other one was House Bill 257, which would authorize certain public bodies to meet virtually. So that is on the table again. The state auditor also issued final levy guidance for schools and local governments, which includes what is permissible under Ohio Revised Code and includes FAQs about levies and bond issues, which we are not facing at this time, but it has been updated per Ohio Revised Code. And that is all I have at this time.
The only thing I would have to add to that is that the Ohio State Board of Education has just filed a lawsuit against the state of Ohio and the governor's office for the potential takeover. So that is with the court, local court in Columbus and Franklin County. So we'll see that go through the appellate series. They're looking for an injunction for the state takeover of the State Board of Education.
All the positive energies to our state's school board.
All right, 10.06, Avenues for Success, and I will turn it over to Mrs. Rarica.
Why, thank you, Madam President. Avenues for Success is going to start their after-school clubs October 9th. As you know, they do before and after care too. That's already going. Registration is open for those after-school clubs. It's $25 per semester, and they also offer scholarships. You don't have if you can't pay. And some of the great offerings are book club, piano, martial arts, pots and plants, film, music production, yoga, life skills, Dungeons and Dragons, rock bands, sewing, culture and food, and so many more. It was a ridiculous number of choices. I don't even know how my kid chose. Also, if you'd like to support Avenues for Success, you can link your Kroger Plus card. I do believe you have to re-up that every year, so don't forget to do it with Norwood City Schools After School Program, and then it does have like a hashtag RH006. I don't know what that part is, but it might be part of the name. And that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Rarica. Item 11 on our agenda, this is meeting notifications, approval of future meetings. So our committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 10th at the board office and Thursday, October 19th here in the mini high school auditorium. So I'd like to motion that we approve the future meetings as listed.
Madam President,
Oh, yes?
could we add the special right after our committee meeting for the purpose of reviewing bids from our bid opening for Shea?
Sure.
That would just be very timely, and it would give our architect and potential contractor a little bit more time.
Okay, so that would be the special meeting, October 10th, following the regular committee meeting at the Board of Education office.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it.
Second?
We have a second. Any discussion? It is fantastic to be back in this auditorium. I know we love to have our meetings here. Not that the board office isn't great, but
It's hard to remember.
well, it used to be not only two different locations, it used to be two different times for the committee and which
Ugh,
was awful.
yes.
So, yes, and hopefully we'll have our rising star students with us next
Yes,
month.
they'll be here next
Okay,
month.
because that's my favorite part. So looking forward to that. Any other discussion? All right, Mr. Atwood?
Mr. Atwood? Yes. Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes. Item 12 is the adjournment. Do I have a motion to close?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The time is 7:34. We are adjourned. Thank you.